¿Cómo están? Bien. Oye, tengo algo que decir. Es que a veces salgo por la calle y paso tiempo con los de mi edad y están como, ¡ah, hermano! Es como, ay Dios, ¿podemos hablar de la situación social y económica del mundo ahora mismo? Escúchame, es que a veces salgo por la calle y paso tiempo con los de mi edad y están como, ay, 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 tío. Y es
Son
como, ay
autistas.
Dios, ¿podemos hablar de la situación social y económica del mundo ahora mismo?
Son autistas.
You guys are like made to be with each other. You both like Spanish and want to
Yeah,
talk
you're both
about.
Dora the Explorers. Hamid, please bend over.
What would happen if you had one conversation every week with native Spanish speakers? Would your Spanish improve a lot? Would it not improve at all? I spent 1 week having daily conversations with natives to see what would happen. If you don't know me, my name is Hamid, I'm 15 years old, and I became a polyglot when I was 13 years old after getting conversationally fluent in Spanish after the summer of 2023. Here's what I sounded before that summer.
Hola, estoy comiendo comida. Voy a mejorar mi español.
Y pues ahora puedo hablar con fluidez. And in this video I'm going to prove that as well, showing the conversations. I know a lot of people don't even believe me when I said I got conversation fluent in 120 hours of studying, and they don't even think that I'm conversation fluent now in Spanish. So this video kind of will prove that, but also help you with this answer of, is having conversations actually a good way to learn Spanish? When I first started studying Spanish, my initial motivation was through basically competition. This guy in my class had started using Duolingo, and he had gotten slightly better than us, and this guy was a pretty bad student. And so I was one of those people. I started doing research on different apps to learn, and eventually, you know, as I was doing research and finding different YouTubers that got fluent in various amounts of time, and I sort of delved into that niche, I found like a main pattern. First thing was that a lot of people were advocating, most people were advocating for the basic ones, like Babbel, Memrise, and those were all like paid sponsorships, which, you know, if a YouTuber has been paid for a language learning app, usually they don't actually believe in the app, and it's probably not a good app. And so I'll see all these different apps being presented by these YouTubers. Eventually I found the actual best one, which was called Language Transfer, which essentially explained the grammar for me very well. So I took that course. And all my research while doing Language Transfer and while sort of going around learning Spanish, I stumbled upon some YouTubers named Language Lords and Shauma. And so both of these YouTubers, they got conversationally fluent extremely quickly. I think it was Shauma got fluent in like 20, 30 days, and Language Lords got conversational in like 44 days. And a lot of people were calling it cap, but I honestly believed it. Maybe that was me being gullible because I was like 12 at the time, or it was because it was a fact, then it turned out to be the latter. Because what happened was I looked at their videos and I noticed a key pattern, a very specific pattern, the way they got fluent. Because a lot of people got fluent through studying for textbooks, and I knew that the regular way of studying languages, I knew that that just didn't work very well. Not only because I tried it before with my own native language, Azeri, but also because in school, one time my Swedish teacher told me like a story. He told the whole class like a story of this French who had been studying French for about 8 years in school. So his mom was like, oh, okay, so you've been studying for 8 years, let's go to Paris. They went to Paris and he couldn't speak anything. He couldn't say anything. He understood some signs here and there, but for the most part, he couldn't speak it at all. So think about that, 8 years studying using the regular textbook method of learning and still didn't get anywhere. So I knew that that sort of method didn't work. What these guys, Language Lords and Shauma, did though was very different to that. And it's connected to what we have here. Now, I essentially took the concepts of what the method they did was, and I implemented it. And by the end of that summer, I was able to be conversationally fluent. Not completely fluent, not perfect Spanish, but conversational, where I was able to have basic conversations. That's what I consider like basic fluency, right? Then fast forward a few months where after summer, I'd reach around about 120 hours of studying. And then, you know, fast forward like a year or so, then I was fully conversational and proficient, I would say, in the language. Now, that was around a year ago from now, actually, after the summer of 2023. Since after the summer of 2022, I dropped it and pretty much studied maybe 10 hours over the entire year from the end of summer of 2023. And so now I realized that getting conversationally fluent follows a similar pattern, a similar framework rather, similar equation. And the equation is speaking multiplied by understanding. And that is what achieves conversational fluency, because every single time I looked, these YouTubers, Shauma and Language Lords. Language Lords had one exercise for speaking and one exercise for understanding, as in audible, like listening to Spanish. Shauma just had conversations 24/7 essentially. This is what I did, when I created these frameworks. And if you think about it, this is what I realized back before that summer of 2022, where I realized that a conversation is literally just those two skills. I speak, you understand me, we switch. You speak and I'm understanding you. That back and forth, which is a conversation, which is what I wanted to achieve in Spanish, is just the two skills of speaking and understanding. And Shaman was practicing it every day, several hours, by having conversations, because those are two skills, practicing conversations. And Language Lords practiced those skills by having an exercise for speaking and an exercise for understanding. And then once he got through those, then he started actually speaking more with natives, similarly to Shauma. And so even they who haven't studied any textbook or whatever, they can still speak a language fluently. And so fluency, being fluent in the sense of a conversation, is just those two skills. And so when I went into this challenge, I had the idea in mind that, okay, I am just implementing the fluency framework at the highest level. Because honestly, the goal is to have conversations. How do you get better at having conversations? You have more conversations. I'm trying to get better at my proficiency level in speaking and understanding Spanish. And so this sort of challenge is literally akin to what I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago in the summer of 2022, where I essentially just tried speaking Spanish as much as possible and having conversations with natives. And so that just gives you a little context of the situation. I know someone's going to comment like, oh, the yapping ends and now the video starts. No, but like, I'm just explaining the reason behind why I even did the challenge. Granted, I'd never actually done one conversation a day, every day for a week. Honestly, it wasn't really a week. It was like 5-6 days because Ramadan started and that was kind of hectic because I have to wake up at like 5 a.m. And so by the way, I live in Sweden and the time zones are very weird where there's only Spanish people awake at like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. So like that's around the time I need to go to bed. It was very hard to fit it in. But generally speaking, okay, me speaking Spanish for 1 week, this was very akin to what I did in Spain when I traveled to Spain to Seville, and also the summer of 2022. And so I felt that like immediate improvement in my Spanish. Now I was already conversationally fluent years ago, so I wasn't necessarily practicing that. I was more so practicing my already achieved skill. I wasn't achieving a new skill. I was rather improving on the skill that I already had. And that's what I find about reaching native fluency. Native fluency is less about like something that you just get, and it's more so something that you reach. Do you get it? It's not like an instantaneous, now I'm native fluent. No. Whereas being conversationally fluent, I find, is one of those experiences where it's like an instant, like almost, it just happens. At least for me, because directly after the summer of 2022, boom, I was able to have an hour-long conversations with natives. Whereas I feel that native fluency is more so a continuous process that spans upon several years of learning, which is why even though my Spanish did improve in my conversational ability, I haven't actually improved like that crazy amount. And so I also want to say that like my Spanish level is not that high. Like if you gave me one of those tests, I would not be like a C1, C2, C3. I would probably be around like an A3 to a B3, like around that B level where it's like proficient, I think. I took like a small version of the test because the test is like 100 questions. I ain't got time for all that. Unless if anyone wants me to like take the test, actually we can write like a comment. Yes, we want to see you take the test, and I can make like a live stream maybe, I don't know. But I took like a small version of the test and I got B2, which is like proficient. And like so far now, I think I've studied a total of 170, let's say 170, 180. So you can see most of my time studying was during the summer of 2022. During the last 2 to 3 years, I've barely been studying at all. So day one, the conversations, I don't even remember much. I'm just going to show you basically a montage of every day now. So I'll play that montage here.
¿Cómo están? Bien. Oye, tengo algo que decir. Es que a veces salgo por la calle y paso tiempo con los de mi edad y están como, "Ah, hermano", es como, ay Dios, ¿podemos hablar de la situación social y económica del mundo ahora mismo?
A ver, cuenta de vuelta, Hamid, cuenta
Sí.
de
A
vuelta.
mí me dio risa porque
Es-
no da risa, digamos.
No, es como hay una celebridad que se llama Jaden Smith.
Te cuenta el chiste. En
Sí, eso es el chiste. El chiste es que él tenía como 15 años o algo y quería decir que es como mejor. No entienden.
Ok, don't worry, bro. It's very good chiste, güey.
No entiendo. Oh my god, es muy. No,
Me reí.
quiere decir que es más como maduro.
Al pájaro le dio risa, güey, se está riendo.
Ese es el chiste.
Él quiere decir que es más como maduro y mejor porque él no es loco como los de su edad.
Por
Oh
eso
my
en
god.
Estados Unidos no saben hacer chistes.
Bueno, que enséñenme un meme español, o sea, un meme de los latinoamericanos.
Tú eres mexicano, güey. Un meme.
Ujú. Sí, sí, enséñame.
Nada más déjame meter a TikTok, espérame. Ahí lo tengo.
No, eso es que...
Se va a escuchar un poco de ruido, así que voy a apagar mi micrófono, ¿ok?
Angelo, cuéntate un chiste.
Ujú.
No sé ninguno, pero a ver, una frase acá que es chistosa.
Ujú.
A ver, digan, calla pichi.
¿Cómo? ¿Otra vez? ¿Qué dijo?
Calla pichi, oe, así.
Cállate, pichi.
Mira.
¿Qué se dice?
Escuchen.
Ok, ok.
Creo que necesitaría ver el video, ¿no? Yo no tengo TikTok, weón, pero después me lo vas a mandar.
Pero ya descargué el video.
Bueno, estoy confundido, no entiendo el meme o el chiste.
Es que mira, ese es un tipo de meme que tú lo tienes que ver.
Eso sí entendido. Es un buen meme, weón. Ese es un very good meme.
Mamá huevo.
El meme es un pescado
Sí.
debajo del agua
¿Sí?
y hay un video, ¿sí lo has visto?
No lo he visto, pero explícame.
Ok, es un pescado debajo del agua
Sí, sí.
y el pescado mira la cámara y en vez de decir glu glu glu, dice
Ujú.
mamá huevo.
Oh, ok.
Ajá.
Aquí sí
Por eso
entiendo,
el meme
entiendo.
es, mamá huevo.
Ok,
Ok,
lo voy a buscar en TikTok.
¡Mamá huevo!
Feliz de mierda. Yo lo dejé mi pollo de mierda que son.
Oy,
¿No?
hermano.
Hi, Hamid.
Hello, hola David. Oye David, tengo que decirte algo, ok, escúchame. Es que a veces salgo por la calle y paso tiempo con los de mi edad y están como, ay, tío. Y es como, ay Dios, ¿podemos hablar de la situación social y económica del mundo ahora mismo?
Son autistas.
No. Sí. Bueno, chicos, me voy a recomendar algunas películas o series para practicar mi español. La Casa de Papel ya es que no me gusta, pero al mismo tiempo es un poco como no sé, no es como apropiada. Me gusta, pero quiero algo como más como que lo puedo ver en mi tiempo libre sin tener que ocultar de mis padres o algo así. Porque
Puedes ver chingue su madre.
¿otra vez? ¿Chingas de madre?
Sí.
Sí, chinga su madre.
Chingas un madre. A ver. Chingas una madre. Ok.
Déjame preguntarle a ChatGPT porque la verdad es que hay un montón, pero nunca se me vienen a la cabeza.
Dos.
O sea, las series y películas.
Por dos.
Chinga tu madre, sí. Voy a empezar a usar esta frase. Chinga tu madre.
Sí, significa buenos días.
Sí, por sí.
En español informal.
Mejor usa la frase de neutro.
Neutro. No,
Y-
hay otras películas, se llama Mamá Huevo.
Ah, sí, mamá huevo, sí. Mamá huevo. Y como gilipollas,
Te
hay.
pasa hasta que le tomas el pelo, di.
Él sabe,
Gracioso.
sí, así tonto.
Pero en tu vida. No, me cago en tus muertos. Me encanta esa serie, es que es una serie increíble, ya creo.
Es
Sí,
serie increíble.
sí,
Es una serie increíble.
sí. Social y
Tú
económica.
eres de Azerbaiyán.
Ya encontré una que es muy buena.
¿Sí?
No se aceptan devoluciones.
Otra vez, no te escuché.
Se llama Chupamijola,
No
¿sabes?
se aceptan devoluciones. Es de Eugenio Derbez. Es una película mexicana. Bueno, no mexicana, pero, o sea...
No me estás jugando.
¿Qué?
No me estás
No,
jodiendo.
no estoy
No.
vacilando.
Ok.
Búscala.
¿Cómo se llama? ¿Es otra
La voy a
vez?
escribir.
Escríbelo.
La voy a escribir.
Sí, hazlo. No se aceptan. Ah, sí. ¿Me puedes enseñar como palabras malas de tu país?
Ah, ¿de qué? ¿De mi país?
Sí, de tu
Sano.
país. Sano.
Ajá.
No, palabras malas.
Ya.
No, pero sano es una palabra que significa como que
Eres
o
idiota.
sea, que eres inocente.
Idiota. Eres imbécil.
Oh, imbécil. Ok, ok, sano.
Es como
Una
decirte
pregunta.
inocente, pero a la vez, al mismo tiempo idiota.
Ok, 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 interesante, es interesante.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué tal?
Bien.
Me alegro. Y eres de Perú, ¿no?
Yes.
Sí, ¿hablas inglés?
A little bit.
A little bit. ¿Por cuánto tiempo has estado aprendiendo el inglés?
Mucho tiempo, la verdad. Pero no le tomé interés.
¿Como años o
Yeah, like 8 years.
8 years? Bueno, what have you been doing?
Nothing.
But you speak well, no? Like, can you understand I don't know, fast English and stuff, or
Yeah, sometimes.
sometimes? You're from Peru, right?
Sí.
Sí. Enséñame como una palabra mala de Perú. Una palabra mala que...
¿Huevón?
¿Otra vez?
¿Ya te habían enseñado esa?
No. ¿Huevo?
Ajá.
Ok, ¿qué significa eso?
Es como cuando le hablas a alguien al azar, pero es como que con alguien con confianza. Es como decir, huevona, o sea, como decirle a amiga, algo así, pero es como que de una forma grosera. Mira, algo que una de mis amigas, bueno, una chica que conozco, no tan cercana, decía era chimba.
Chimba. Wait, chimba.
Pero eso es algo más colombiano.
La chimba. Bueno, ¿cómo se usa esa palabra entonces? ¿Qué chimba? Como...
Es como decir que genial.
Oh, ok. Como chulo, ¿no? O como...
Sí, parecido.
Hamid,
Sí.
¿de dónde vienes?
Vivo en Suecia. Por ahora. Oh, sí. Nací en Suecia, vivo en Suecia.
Ah,
¿Sabes dónde está?
sí, sí.
Sí. Entonces aprendí el sueco tampoco. Entonces soy políglota, podemos decir. Pero no voy a aprender más idiomas porque ya he aprendido cuatro idiomas. No quiero como... No sé, a mí me parece suficiente. Oye, escúchenme. A veces paso tiempo con los de mi edad y están como, hermano. Es como, ay Dios. ¿Podemos hablar de la situación social y económica del mundo ahora mismo? I just want to say one thing, okay?
Did you kick out Yana?
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
You guys are like made to be with each other. You both like Spanish and want to
Yeah,
talk
you're both
about...
Dora the Explorers. Hamid, please bend over.
Okay. Haram, eso es haram. Es número 10. ¿Por cuánto tiempo has estado aprendiendo el español?
4 meses.
4 meses.
4 meses.
Ok, entonces hablamos en español entonces. ¿Por qué no hablamos en español?
No, hablamos inglés. Estoy harto del español.
¿Por qué? Ok.
Porque me tienen ya hasta la picha de tanto español, coño. Escúchame. Todo lo que aprendí español sois muy molestos. Muy molestos. En plan, no os calléis la puta boca.
No, los españoles, a mí me encantan los españoles. ¿Qué dices? Tengo como...
Los que aprendís español sois muy pesados. Es que no os calléis la puta boca ni un segundo.
Hola. Oye, número 2, ¿de dónde eres?
Venezuela, ¿y tú?
Venezuela. Yo soy de... Pues nací en Suecia, pero mis padres son de Azerbaiyán. Que muestra en mi perfil.
Entonces, ¿sabes cómo hablar en francés?
¿Yo?
Sí.
¿En francés? Pues no.
Sí.
Como que porque nací en Suecia, o sea, ¿por qué hablaría el francés? Estás hablando con el número 3, ¿no?
Sí, yo hablo también español.
Ah,
Le decía a él que es mejor que hablar en español para que vosotros entiendan.
sí, estoy de acuerdo.
Anthony, ayúdame a enseñarle unas pequeñas palabras groseras.
Ok. Jergas.
Jerga, sí. O palabras malas. Chamo, chama. Es como decir güey, o sea, amigo, bro, o algo así. A ver, ok, sí.
Chico, es como chico y chico.
Sí, chico, ok, sí, entiendo. Sí, como tío y hermano, algo así. Tío, tía, algo así.
No.
Pues en español.
Eso depende.
Oh, ok.
El chamo es como mi amigo. Tú eres un chamo, Un chico, es lo que digo.
Ah, ok, como chico y
ella-
chica.
sí, chico y chica. Pero es chamo y chama, eso.
Ah, ok, es cool. Como...
Sí.
Pero una grosería como patán. Patán.
No. Es una grosería.
No es una grosería, pero otra grosería que existe es patán, ¿no?
Coño de tu madre.
Sí, esas groserías son como que muy
Muy mal, ok. Como coño y cojones.
Uno dice groserías fuertes, dice groserías muy fuertes.
Una grosería así que no son tan fuertes como coño.
¿Coño es fuerte o no? Sí, coño es fuerte. Pero en francés, como una palabra mala en francés.
No sé, dime una cosa en español y te voy a traducirlo.
Ok, coño.
Mierda, traduce eso.
Mierda. Mierda, mierda.
Mierda es merde.
Oh,
No,
merde.
pero eso no son groserías fuertes.
Pero si quieres una cosa muy mala es fils de pute.
Fils de pute. Oh, ok, sí, como puta, ¿no?
Hijo de puta.
Sí, sí, ich de
Es
put.
muy común.
Ich de put. ¿Sí? ¿La pronuncio bien? Sí me da bien, ¿no? A mí se me da bien pronunciar las palabras.
No creo.
¿No?
No, yo sí tengo.
Ich de put. Dime otra vez.
Fils de pute.
Fils de put.
So what I noticed was some of the conversations were really nice and some of them were just really funny. My strategy to get into this was that like the hardest part was less about speaking Spanish. It was more so about just having conversations, because getting into a conversation and being like extroverted and like getting into that zone of having a conversation is already hard in itself. You need to have a lot of time on your hands, and I didn't have that much time. So my main goal with the conversations was just to make like a joke or something, or just to like learn about slang. I learn about like Spanish memes and learn about like bad like curse words in Spanish, and then just to have like a basic conversation. Oh, what do you like to do? Blah blah blah. Boring law conversations. And so a lot of times I was trying to share like some memes of our own, like the Jaden Smith like meme, and none of the Spanish people understood it, and it was so like anyways. And so I basically used those to have the conversations. And so overall I do feel that my Spanish improved, and I can testify that back in 2022 when I did do something very similar to this, my Spanish did improve a lot in that time as well. But I will say that to get to this level, there are other important things. It's always important to practice the goal, but to do the things to improve the goal also includes, for example, a more specific and egregious study method. What I mean by that is to exercise the fluency equation, it is to listen and understand Spanish and to speak and understand Spanish, right? Because that is what a conversation is. I found that my Spanish in terms of understanding improves more when I do my understanding exercise, which is called transcript training, rather than having conversations. Since in a conversation, I can't really study the words they say as well as I can in like transcript training in like a video, because when I'm studying a piece of Spanish content, I'm able to pause it and really go delve deep into what they say. In a conversation, you can only really tell them like, hey, can you speak a little slower? In a piece of content, you can obviously do that. It's much less probable that you can do that, unless you're paying for a tutor, which is what Xiaoma did, which is why he was able to do it, because he was paying essentially for a tutor, and he was speaking to the tutor for like 8 hours a day or something, like 24/7 speaking to a tutor. In the sense of a conversation on Hello Talk, you can't really do that. And so I found that my Spanish in terms of understanding improved when I did my listening exercise, which is called transcript training, and subsequently my speaking improved when I did my speaking exercise. And that makes complete sense, because if you want to get better at speaking, you should do more of it. If you want to get better at understanding audible Spanish, you should try to understand more audible Spanish, which is what the 2 exercises that I did during the summer 2022 achieve. During this challenge, I didn't do any of those. I just had conversations. And so you can think about it as, and I'll make probably another video, as that your ability to have conversations is your proficiency in the language, whereas the time you spend learning is more so, you know, intensive study time for each of the skills required for fluency, or rather a conversationally fluent level. And so those 2 skills are just speaking and understanding, which I mentioned before. And so my tip to you basically is that it's better to focus on the exact skills you need to have the conversations, and then also have the conversations, rather than just have the conversations, because your Spanish will improve just like how my Spanish has improved during this week. But the bigger improvement will be in the more focused work. What I mean by this is, if you do bench press, you'll get stronger anterior delts, stronger triceps, and stronger chest. But your anterior delts will probably grow more if you do front raises. Basically, an exercise that specifically targets that specific muscle group. Just like how your triceps will probably improve more if you did a specific like tricep pull down or dips. Do you get it? More than a bench press. Even though a bench press trains all of those skills, it's more general. Whereas if you practice specifically just one of those skills, or in the case of bench press, there are 3 muscles being used. In the sense of a conversation, there are 2, speaking and understanding. And so I find that your speaking and understanding skills will get better the more specific and more focused you are on those skills. Basically, focusing on transcript training, which is the exercise I use to climb the learn ladder, which basically just means to listen and understand Spanish over and over again. And narrate, elaborate, contemplate, which is my framework for improving my speaking ability in Spanish, aka climbing the SIR ladder. These are all conceptual things I've gone through many times in my channel, but if you're interested, I can make more videos on those. Basically what I mean is to focus more on the specific parts of a conversation rather than just have the conversation, because it will equate to that. Now obviously having the conversation is the best when it comes to being constantly able to correct and understand. What happens is on a conversation online, most people don't really want to correct every single word, and they don't want to have you asking a million questions about linguistic grammatical rules, unless you want to do it the way Shama did it, which is where he did do that, except he had tutors who actually explained everything. I feel that it's better to hyperfixate on the skills required to have the conversation and then have the conversation. So you should still do bench press, just also include the muscles that you need for executing the bench press. Basically, you should still have the conversations, but I feel that my Spanish would 100% improved way more if I did my narrate, elaborate, contemplate exercise and transcript training exercise. Basically, a speaking and understanding exercise in Spanish. And so that's pretty much it for this video. This video took me a lot of time to edit and even record. It took me a week of just recording stuff beforehand. So if you enjoyed it, then please like and subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff that will make this video be shown to other people. If you want to get fluent in Spanish using the fluency equation that I talked about in this video, then check the description. And I hope this video helped you, bro. Stay humble.